Hello everyone, welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Just want to make sure the page is up and running before I get into my rant. Investor.com, and we are live. Awesome. Alright, welcome to, today is, where are we here? Today is Wednesday, is it not? Yep, 4th of March. Today is level 3 group tutorial session. We're going to be talking about writing options strategies, writing covered calls, and cash secured puts. So it means I can't do any kind of marathons here today. This should be just maybe, if we're lucky, a nice 10-minute overview. But when Brian says 10 minutes, probably odds are it's going to be 20. But anyway, we'll see how we do. Actually, I was exceedingly pleased to see that our dashboard data is coming along here nicely. And interesting to see breadth actually sped up a little short-term buy signal here on the breadth data, which this is really how I'd like to be using this in the future. Is if you can understand market breadth, what you'll actually come to learn is that the broader market actually moves way, way, way before the major indexes. So it's interesting that it flashed actually a short-term sell signal there back on February 21st. Then we go and actually look at the stock market. Let's see, that's Euro. I was having lots of fun talking about shorting Euros there on the site today. Where's the S&Ps? There we are. We look at February 21st, and it turns out that was actually that day there. So what do you think? Would that have been kind of a cool day to have a signal? Maybe I should go buy a put? Whoosh! Well, hindsight's 20/20. Good part about it, though, is we are making progress, and things are marching along nicely, and I'm very impressed with the teamwork TRI's put in to get us ready to kick butt in this next cycle. Speaking of cycles, actually, I absolutely love crypto right now, especially the shit coins. Oh my god, beautiful. And speaking of which, Mr. Eating Ass is perking up nicely here today, so how appropriate. Shitcoins taste great. YouTube's gonna make me X-rated. Oh well. Kind of an interesting thing I wanted to mention. Some YouTubers had asked me to take a look at things like their ideas recently, and it was kind of fun. We picked apart this chart in the daily brief here today, and it just goes to show that actually, you know, if the person who actually asked me to look at this stock a while ago is watching this video today, just make reference, yeah, that was me, Brian, and I'll post this analysis. But what a great analogy. And the irony of it all is it doesn't matter whether it's a shit coin or a shit stock. This trades on the Canadian Venture Exchange, Calgary Stock Exchange, I think they call it. And beautiful analogy of reload zones, original double bottoms, gaps needing to be filled in. And look what happened if you just had your bid at the gap, right? Doink, sproing. What a sick level that was. So anyway, just a great analogy that it doesn't really matter what market you're trading. What we really are doing here is we're actually measuring and trading human psychology. And it doesn't matter whether it's a penny stock or whether it's a commodity or whether it's a cryptocurrency or whether it's a blue chip index. It's really more a conversation about humans and human psychology. So fascinating conversation we had today in the daily brief today. I'll keep that open. And like I said, if the person who did watch that wants this updated chart, I can't remember who it was or when you asked about it. Yeah, interesting little story. I mean, I'm not recommending, I'm not endorsing this. If anything, technically, the chart speaks for itself. Fundamentally, haven't got an opinion about this. I think I did a fairly lengthy write-up on it. It's just interesting. It's just another story in the market. You know, I always like to sort of, for you YouTubers, just sort of keep the conversation relatively limited to a few topics. Obviously, we have to watch US dollar index very closely, and sort of videos that I said yesterday, I'm still thinking that this is a bull. And interestingly enough, if we actually do reload zones, ironically enough, all we've done, whoops, let's try that again. All we've done is just backed up into a reload zone. As long as we still see higher highs and higher lows, I think the bull is still intact here. And as I was showing you there a moment ago, I spent a lot of time in the video today talking, in the daily brief today, talking about I really like the idea of hunting a short on the euro because, frankly speaking, I still think the European economy is a mess right now. And it's just a question of just being patient and disciplined and just waiting for the setup to come in. So we had talked about this original head and shoulders, and notice all they've done is they've just counter-trend rallied the euro right back to value high, right back to reload zones, back to the original market structure failure, and gee whiz, here comes a nice little fractal that's trying to form up top here. So I like the idea of the US dollar holding those lows, higher highs and higher lows. And I like the idea of this euro actually rallying into a short window. We'll see what happens. Only time will tell. But that's just sort of my thoughts with risk on, risk off. I'd actually be interested to hunt along here now. Risk on, risk off, specifically with regard to the different asset sectors I like to follow. We have been talking, of course, at length recently about what does this sort of, crash du jour look like in the stock market. And I did a lot of parallels between sort of like this Trump dump and this Trump dump, and I'm seeing a lot of similarities. So, first things first, what's a 50% rule? So there's your dead cat bounce, doink. Now the question ultimately is this the bottom? Or do we have to go back and forth a while and seriously test these lows? And interestingly enough, I had put out a comment recently that I had thought that actually a bigger reason why the stock market broke, in my opinion, was all about this gentleman and not coronavirus. And if you go back and look at your charts, what did the stock market do around February 23rd? Remember, we had that bread signal there around that date. And all hell broke loose. Pull up any Dow, S&P, NASDAQ, whatever. All hell broke loose in the stock market the day of this event, right? And I suppose shortly thereafter. And what I found fascinating was watching the market. You saw I had those short-term ES futures charts up. Watching how last night Mr. Biden come roaring back. And frankly speaking, I thought he was toast. There were other market commentators who are saying, Sanders has won. Throw in the towel. This is it. But last night, he came storming out of nowhere and actually won a good chunk of the primaries. And I get the kind of feeling that maybe a lot of people saw sort of this and went, holy shit, I don't want the socialists to come in, and came running back to support Mr. Biden. So in a weird sort of way, everybody's humming and hawing about the stock market and what's the Fed done and all that kind of stuff. I get the impression that actually this is more political than the Fed. And, as I've said recently, now that the Fed has gone and juiced the system, holy shit, get ready, people. This stock market could go crazy. I mean, basically, it's free money out there. You want money? Go. Here's lots of money. Not only are we going to charge you low rates, we're probably going to even lower the rate even more. Here's a big discount. And it's funny because it's a cute anecdote. But, anybody who saved money and is just sort of sitting on interest, they're pissed off right now. Because they just got a pay cut. So it's fascinating how this world is just killing the savers. But anyway, like I said, I personally think that, especially looking at the stock market performance this morning, the headlines are all the healthcare sector. They all just went, oh, phew. Ah, man, we dodged a major bullet there. And Mr. Biden started coming back to life here. You can see the stock market breathed a huge sigh of relief. Problem here is, are there any W's for us to work with here? Well, we change that to a line chart. Does that look like a W? Well, it's starting to. Brian, I like to see serious tests of lows to really tell me that there's a bottom in here. I probably think, like trade location, why that candle body low down there, probably, a week or two down the road, that's probably going to be tested. But who knows? You just never know. I think also, too, though, huge thing that everybody should learn from this, if you ever see these monstrous gaps on futures contracts, and what's really shocking about this one is they actually left a weekly price gap on the futures contract. You know that that's got to be filled in at some point down the road. So, kind of like what I had tweeted out over the weekend, I was like, is anybody out looking at this? Like, prices just went on sale. And I think to a certain degree, there was that sort of political uncertainty where the socialists coming roaring back. Well, it turns out maybe not so fast. Mr. Biden, I think, has bought himself quite a bit of credibility now in the sort of higher ups, kind of, is this guy okay to be president kind of thing in our eyes? And so the capitalists kind of went, phew, especially the healthcare stocks. They all were like, oh my goodness, Mr. Sanders is going to put us out of business. So it is what it is. I'm still thinking that we're in dead cat bouncy kind of mode here. As I said, I don't really feel as though we've got like solid W's to work with just yet, but we've found a level here. And NASDAQ, interesting, the level, candle body lows, happens to just be right on a 50% level. What a shock. I'm feeling as though risk is coming back into the marketplace, which, of course, on the flip side should mean that maybe risk off is a little bit dangerous. And, we've sort of talked about this recently, spent some time through the daily brief looking at these charts. We've actually gone way beyond where I would have realistically expected this big bond rally to have taken us up top here. And, we're starting to see divergence and stuff developing up top here. So don't be surprised if you have a big sort of stock market rally and the bond market actually comes off a chunk. And the irony of it all is it now, in my eyes, like I said, I don't think it has anything to do with the Fed. The Fed's basically on the sidelines. They've been muted. And really now it's just a question of, does the 1%, the smart money, come back into the market now thinking Mr. Biden's probably going to be the Democrat nominee. And interestingly enough, I've also sort of postulated that I think if you ask Mr. Trump, who would he rather run against, this guy or this guy, I think actually Trump has a far better chance of winning if Biden is actually the nominee. Because they're basically cut from the same cloth. They're both just as corrupt. I mean, you hear about all the nonsense with his Biden's son and Ukrainian gas companies. He is just as dirty as every other major politician. If you want to know what I think about politicians, just simply answer this question. How can you tell when a politician is lying? Everybody knows the answer to that. So I don't trust this guy as much or any better than Trump. I mean, they're all cut from the same cloth in a weird sort of way. But this guy, I think he could have actually taken a serious run at Trump and might have actually won. So as I said, I think the whole market breathed a huge sigh of relief overnight. And ironically enough, I bet even Mr. Trump himself went, oh, cool, okay, I can knock over Biden. He's a chump, Whereas this guy, he's dangerous, because he doesn't have any special interests he's speaking to, and he's got nothing to lose, right? Enough commentary there. So bonds, you can see we talked about this damn bot, and sure enough, it turns out that bullish setup worked wonderfully. Way to go. I don't really have a trade here on the bonds, but I could easily see us come back down to trend lines just to sort of clean things up. And I got to tell you, remember, seasonality is actually not in favor of gold right now. So this gold market's looking a little dangerous to me. Be careful here, everyone. We did talk about higher highs and higher lows the other day, basically painting some insane upside objectives. As long as we keep painting higher highs and higher lows, I think you're fine. But, if we start rolling over here and you start seeing M's, be damn careful. We did have that cute little inside bar that fired yesterday, and for the record, that's called a harami. It's translated, it stands for baby inside mummy's body. So that was a short-term buy signal. What if you're a bull, what you really need to see is let's go bust this high. Because what gets dangerous here right now, of course, and everybody knows this, is guess who's going to start coming in and shorting against these highs? He's floating out there. So, if this is a range and that was the top of the range, reload zones, then I would actually expect that we have to come back down and test these lows. And of course, like I said, if we start amming out here, be careful. I think I've told you guys here before, I did take a shot on the long side in the gold stocks, and it was a fun little trade. We made some good money. I got, remember I had said I broke this trade in half for you guys. So we had half the trade take this little bot, which hit its objective. So half of the trade, boom, out you go at this profit objective. And then, if this market really got going in earnest, we had this bigger bot where we're going to trade the other half. But you can see move stop to scratch on this other half and doosh, hit that scratch level. Brian walked away, and so be it. Which isn't bad. I mean, I can't complain. I made money on the trade. Traders got to trade. But now what I'm really worried about, of course, I show you this, is what are you supposed to think if you see the market smiling at you? This is dangerous, people. Understand that. This is dangerous. So that's all I'm going to comment there. Individual ideas, Brian, he loves his W's. We had our TRI SOF meeting yesterday, Tuesdays. And of course, hopefully you all look at this and go, well, yeah, I can see the W's. This one was kind of interesting because we actually played it through the options and we banged out a double here. So technically we have a free position in the options, but the stock dipped back down against the lows. And I was like, screw it, man. I want some of this stock too. So I went and grabbed some of the stock. This reminds me a lot of that recent buy that we bought with Zach, this NBEV. I think the charts look very, oh, sweet. That looks good. So, that's the kind of market that I think we're in. If you can force yourself to come in and buy against W's, I think you're going to get well rewarded here. So, hopefully you can understand the logic. And, I mean, has this got any room to move up here? You tell me. You just keep zooming out and the highs keep going higher. I mean, really, I'm playing like this kind of move here, right? If we get any of that kind of price action, I'm laughing, right? So here we are bumping along the bottom end of the range. Is it worth a guy like Brian to take a shot here? I mean, you can answer the question. And then, I love promoting the people on TRI. I think we have a beautiful community. Full disclosure for the public, I don't have to do any of this now. You all know that. And you see what I do. I could just go off and just do my thing in private. The whole reason why I'm doing this is I'm trying to make a positive difference in this world. Trying to find the people that are really good people. But remember, the old adage, right? Good, the good guy usually finishes last because the asshole usually fucks him over. And really what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to level the playing field. I think, our whole sort of PMA for the win, it attracts those kind of people, which is great. And then, of course, we educate them. And now they're good people that know how to behave in the market. I mean, these are the kind of people that you really want to sort of surround yourself with. And I spent a lot of time in the Daily Brief today just pointing out people and the way that they act and operate on the site. It really makes me proud. I went through a horrible experience 9 years ago. Really questioned even being alive. And I'll tell you, just waking up on a daily basis and being able to come to this community, for me, it actually justifies me being alive. I know that sounds heavy and shit, but it's the truth. And if I can help these good people actually become good traders, make positive difference in the world, oh my God, then this starts multiplying like exponentially kind of shit. So, TRI SOF meeting last night. Somebody had mentioned a name that I hadn't looked at. I did my sort of very simple due diligence, and I was like, I got to go grab some of this. I mean, you all know what W's. And, I've learned a valuable lesson here with all you guys. I don't talk. This is a strict rule now for me. I will not talk to you about names that I have not been filled in on yet. So if I haven't gotten my fill, I'm not going to talk to you guys about these ideas because look at this goddamn mana. Stop bidding this damn thing up. You're going the wrong way. And I actually believe in it. Part of me, I mean, it's a bit ego, but this thing was pointing down before I started barking about it. And then all of a sudden, the damn thing starts pointing up here. And, lots of people on their site are like, oh, yeah, I got my bid in there. I got my bid in there. I got my bid in there. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. We're never going to get filled here. Now we've stacked up the order book. They're going to take it the other direction. Ah, well, what can you do? Got to tell you, though, picked up a little bit of this VTC. And again, Brian, he loves his W's. I mean, look at that chart. Speaks 1,000 words. Beautiful. So I'm feeling pretty good about the poop coin market. One poop coin that we picked up here recently, and how apropos, it actually is gapping higher here today. In fact, actually, we call that a Joby gap setup. So if he takes off through the highs here tomorrow, that's a monstrous buy signal. And, of course, hopefully everybody looks and goes, gee whiz, is this thing going to put in some big honking W here? And I don't know, has this thing got any room to move up here? I mean, hopefully you look at this and go, okay, I can see why this Beamish guy is getting jazzed about altcoins here. This market looks ripe. So, a couple stock ideas that I bought. And, of course, the logic. Rinse and repeat. I'll risk against these lows. If they're broken, I'll walk away. Looking for nice moves to the upside. As for the corn itself, I put out tweets recently. I think yesterday I put this out, basically saying I kind of get the impression there's every once in a while the market gives you these little windows that I like to call bull-bear battle lines, where basically the market is at a crossroads. And you just need to see either the bulls step up and take over or the bears step up and take over. And you get very nice, polite trading ranges developed. And I think that's exactly what's going on here. This image really hasn't changed a hell of a lot for you guys watching the free videos. You can see where the buy was. You can see where the sell was. Right now we're in no man's land. I could make the argument that there are lower time frame bearish setups potentially working here. I don't know whether I would do it through the corn. I mean, I could definitely see there's probably a bearish bot if we drill down to lower time frames. The setup that I kind of like to follow right now, which I think is basically along the same lines, is this Ethereum setup. So, just like the corn and kind of like Litecoin to a certain degree, I think we've kind of rolled over here. And the question ultimately is this a continuation to take us down into appropriate buying windows? That's the feeling that I get. And then when I look at things like internal sentiment indicators, we spent a lot of time on the Daily Brief talking about this stuff today. We can see that internally, these guys don't look so happy. So the majors, there's no hurry here whatsoever in my mind. Sentiment-wise, everything's still pointing down. Tether's still got a bid. So there is no bottoms here. So I'm not really in a big hurry with regard to the majors. The area of the market that I really like right now, I think, is story related. Find a good fundamental driver. Obviously trade setups, W's, those kind of things. And I like the idea of just keep accumulating, because I could very easily see, like this VTC, as you see on the chart here. Does this thing have any room to run up here at all? Maybe we'll leave the conversation at that for today. Remember, I'm not telling you what to buy. I don't care if you buy or don't buy. I'm telling you what I'm doing with my money. And as you've seen recently, I've gone and bought a little bit of this guy here. So I think I'm going to make some money here. All right, everyone. Hope you had yourself a great day. I'm off to class here now. Thank you so much, Kevin, for all your assistance day in, day out. And the only thing left for good old Brian to say at this point is bye for now.